Good evening, Heckling fandom. It is your favorite type of episode, a Warner and LaPlante episode. We were going to have a special guest on. His name is Ron Seymour, but he was unable to make it tonight. So it's just us two. So it's time for garbage time. What's going on, guys? We are here to bring you the Week 14 game preview, and along with a little news. Week 14 actually has kicked off. The Steelers and Vikings have just kicked off, so don't mind me when I really interrupt Ryan with game updates. But Ryan, how you doing tonight?
Good. You know, it's been a pretty exciting time for fantasy football. A lot of leagues are either just starting their playoffs or this is the last week before the playoffs start in most leagues. So definitely crunch time, and picking the right lineups now matters now more than ever.
Yes, it does, and it's definitely crunch time. I got 2 leagues that I need to win, and I need other people to lose to sneak into the playoffs, and then some I'm already in. So it's that wild time of year that we love.
Some you're already out.
Yes. The leagues associated with this podcast, I am out due to a crucial mistake I made last week, gifting Ron a free win. But
yeah, that was bad.
It is what it is.
Listen,
anything
I'm
else?
out on one too.
You're out in one? Aren't you in like 5 leagues? So you're shooting 80%.
I'm in 6 leagues, but
that's pretty damn good.
Which, by the way, absolutely terrible choice. I will never do that again.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Anything else before we kick into the news here?
No, man. Let's jump right into it.
All right.
News updates.
All right. So not a ton of news, but a little bit of news, mostly injury and COVID related. So the first bit of news, the Saints had both Mark Ingram and Ty Montgomery go on the COVID-19 list. So they are probably going to miss this weekend's game versus the Jets. So Ryan, how many points is Alvin Kamara going to score on Joe's Jets?
Oh my God, sky's the limit. Dude's gonna just go off. I'm going to say over 20.
Well, speaking of Joe, he wanted to chime in and troll us, as he mentioned earlier in the group chat. JJ gifting wins like it's Christmas season or some shit. Yeah, I really did. It was bad, but never happen again. Yeah,
and I know we're not into
go ahead.
No game yet, but I do really like Devonta Freeman if Mark Ingram is out on COVID.
Devonta Freeman?
And he does not play for that team, so never mind.
That's why Joe is here tonight.
That's why Alvin Kamara is going to put up 25 points, not just 20.
Well, I don't know. There's a certain somebody that's going to be playing quarterback Sunday that likes to steal goal line touchdowns, so I won't get into who exactly that is, but
that's some say he's the best quarterback in a really long time that the Bears would have loved to have.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate that apology. All right. So other piece of news we're going to discuss, but it's basically null and void. Dalvin Cook's obviously active tonight. He's playing right now. His first carry he took for 20 yards, so that's obviously an encouraging sign. So good for the Vikings, I guess, if he's going to be running like that tonight. So we'll keep you updated as we go through this. Next piece of news, Cooper Kupp showed up on the injury report with a toe injury. Seems like there's been a lot of toe injuries this year. Like, I'm not sure if it's turf toe specifically or what, but it's obviously a painful nagging injury that hinders players a lot. So, what do you think about this? Do you think it's going to affect him at all?
I don't think so. I think he's still gonna keep doing what he's been doing. I think you can still start him fully confident as a wide receiver one.
Yeah, I agree. And they got the Monday night game, of course, so he'll have an extra day of rest. So hopefully he can come out and be his usual dominant self. Next piece of news, kind of in the title, some trade rumors going around. I just want to get your thoughts on it. Russell Wilson allegedly he shut this down today. Of course, he's going to shut it down in season, but allegedly would accept a trade to not both, of three teams: the Saints, the Giants, and what's the other one? The Broncos. So, where do you think, if he's leaving, he should go, and why?
I really like that Broncos team. I thought they would be a prime candidate for Aaron Rodgers as well if he chose to leave. Just signed Cortland Sutton to a big contract extension. Got Jerry Jeudy there, obviously. Have a solid tight end in Noah Fant. Got decent running backs. Javonte Williams is gonna be a stud once they actually start using him as their bell cow. I think they just have all the pieces except quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree. Great defense. Even though they lost Von Miller, they've still been playing at a high level and have a lot of young talent on that team. So I'd have to agree. I think the Broncos would be a great destination. The Saints are interesting, but I don't think they will have the money to be able to swing that. And I wouldn't mind the Giants either, though I don't want to, don't want Ron to get too cocky if the Giants start to get good. So maybe the Broncos are the best spot for them.
Well, and I know that there's a big salary cap bump coming up, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to secure.
Well, the Saints, I think, are like negative. It's either the Saints or the Packers that are negative 60 million in cap as of now. One of them's negative 60, and the other one's like negative 33 million. So even with the bump,
how do you operate your team if you're negative? Like, how does that work?
I don't know. Saints have some bad contracts, so like Michael Thomas, who hasn't played in 2 years, pretty much, who's eating a lot of that up.
Yep.
But another story. So next piece of news I had, Eli Mitchell from the 49ers. He has a knee injury now, and along with his concussion that he's had, and he has not been practicing this week. So one of the 49ers beat reporters has recently come out and said it looks like Jeff Wilson is the favorite to start this Sunday against the Bengals. So I added him in winner. Probably shouldn't have, but
I think he's a solid RB2 option if Eli Mitchell is completely out. I don't think that's a bad pickup at all.
I just don't want to interfere with the teams that are actually going to be in the playoffs, but yeah.
Tell us your thoughts on how you felt about that last year with non-playoff teams being able to make waiver pickups.
Yeah, it was a bit of a sore subject for me. I think it was like Le'Veon Bell. We were in like the middle of the playoffs and winner, and people that were out were adding people, and
I just remember right before you entered the championship game, there was this one player you needed, and I was right in front of you. And I was like, I'm going to take him on you. And I didn't need him. And you were just like, if you do that, I swear to God, I will quit.
Yeah, that was. I'm not a fan of the. And I want to take it out of our dynasty league, but I'm not a fan of the loser bracket. I just think once you're out, and I shouldn't be able to impede on the people or impact the people that are still in it. So I don't know. That's just a pet peeve of mine, I guess. So
I can see both sides. I get it.
But now that the season is wrapping up in winner, I would just like to formally announce to the heckling fandom that Ron runs a bullshit league, and a draft was conducted on the ESPN platform, and he changed the platform to the Sleeper app right before the season. It changed the divisions, it changed the schedules, and it's possible it changed the rules as well. So I'm just putting a giant asterisk next to this season, and it doesn't count. So
you're saying you're on my side in that what that whole debate was
with the playoffs.
What's that?
What debate?
think you cut out on me.
What?
There was a big debate over playoff seeding because when we switched the leads, the default playoff seeding for Sleeper was the top 2 teams in the divisions, and then it goes by record for the rest. And then Ron came up week 13 and said, "Hey, top 3 teams from each division get in," which is going to boot out one player in the lead who actually has a winning record, and someone with a losing record is going to get into the playoffs due to that.
I didn't realize he changed the rule.
Yeah.
No vote?
Bouncer. So, kind of like how last season where Ron was sitting at number 6, so then he expanded it to 6 playoff teams. Do we recall that?
I definitely recall it.
So anyway, try when you're announcing who your commissioner of your league is, get someone as non-shady as possible.
Ron, if only you were here to defend yourself. All right. I think the Joe touched on my last bit of news here in his comment. Elijah Moore's day-to-day, whole receiving course getting hurt for the Jets. Yeah, so obviously Corey Davis went on IR. I can't remember if it was last week or at the beginning of this week. But he's out for the season. And Elijah Moore has a quad injury. So and I think he was limited, or I can't remember if he's a non-participant or limited, but I'm not sure his chances are great to play. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to run him out there if he's hurt. Obviously, the Jets' record is not good, and they're not going to be in the playoffs. So why would you run your young up-and-coming receiver out there if he's banged up? So, yeah.
One other piece, I don't think you touched on it. Deebo Samuel did not participate in practice on today. They're thinking he might be missing another game coming up, which is going to be huge for fantasy owners, as if you have him on your team, he's probably your wide receiver 1. Right now, I think he's still showing as like having points, but keep an eye on that. It's very possible that he gets ruled out leading up to game day.
Yep. Yeah, I saw he was like working on the side and not very limited. So groin injuries are tough and they linger. So all right. I think we covered the news. Do you have anything else before we get into the picks? Not the picks, but the
Nope. I
previews.
guess my only other news as far as the injury goes. Do you have any concerns regarding Joe Burrow and his finger and what that might mean for any Bengals wide receivers?
A little bit. I touched on it just a little bit with Joe when we did the episode Monday, the reaction episode. He was still able to throw it okay, and it was just so swollen. Hopefully the swelling can go down. I don't think it'll affect him too much. I'm not sure what the weather is supposed to be for that game. I know it's in Cincinnati, so it's probably going to be cold, which definitely doesn't help, but I'm not too concerned about it right now. Oh, it's actually supposed to be sunny and 49 degrees, so he should be fine.
Oh. Yeah, they can wear their shorts. And Zylant showed up. Hey, thank you. Ron is looking for that apology on that Jonathan Taylor take, so feel free to get that in at any time.
There's Joe. Where's the apology to Ron? I was not here for it, but I heard about it. I don't know why he made that bet on Jonathan Taylor playing the Texans, but yeah, a bet's a bet. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the game previews.
Let's do it.
All right. I don't know if that one was there last time or not, but cool. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Why don't we jump right in with the game we were just kind of talking about, the Cincinnati Bengals and the 49ers. Games in Cincinnati. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, and like we were just talking about, you have Debo that could very likely be out. So I do like how it looks for Brandon Ayuk. Joe will be very happy to hear that. I know he's been tough to start pretty much all season because you don't know what you're gonna get. Didn't do great last week, only 8 points, but before that, put up 12 and 21 before. So I think you could start him with pretty high confidence this week if Debo is going to be out.
Is George Kittle going to stay in beast mode?
I think so. I think he's finally coming into his own, finally showing up 12 weeks into the season. Which I think if you're someone who had him on your team, you probably were hanging on to him this whole time, but not enjoying it one bit. But I think it's going to be full steam ahead from here on out. What do you think?
I agree. And I mean, the 49ers running backs are obviously banged up right now. So even though Jeff Wilson, it's looking like he is going to start, he's banged up too. His surgically repaired knee has been giving him problems. So I would not be surprised if Garoppolo throws it around 40 times in this one, especially going against the Bengals offense. They need to bounce back. So I definitely think Kittle and Ayuk could have a big game in this one.
Yeah, and I know we've mentioned on previous episodes, even with Devo kind of struggling a little bit, I still really like Jimmy Garoppolo from now till the end of the fantasy season. Based on his schedule, he's got Cincinnati, Atlanta, Tennessee, Houston.
Decent.
If you're stuck in a weird spot with quarterbacks and he's sitting out there, it might help you out. JJ dropping that pass saved my fantasy game.
Justin Jefferson. I know he had a deep ball
okay.
to him. I'm just tracking it on ESPN, so we're not actually watching the game. Did he drop a deep one, Sua? Let us know. All right. So yeah, what do you think about Jamar Chase? Is he going to get back on track on this one? He's kind of slowed down the past few weeks after his hot start.
Yeah. Like obviously you got the finger injury to Joe Burrow that makes you a little nervous. T. Higgins had a strong week last week, which takes away from Jamar Chase, obviously. And like you said, he started out really hot, but ever since he came back from the bye week, basically has kind of slowed down a little bit. But he's still got 6 targets against Vegas, another 8 targets against the Chargers. So I think you'd still feel confident going forward with him.
All right. Yeah, and T. Higgins is banged up right now, so I know I think the Bengals listed him as questionable for the game, but he's pretty banged up. So there's a chance he misses. So if he does,
Okay.
I know he's been hot, but I definitely don't mind the outlook of Chase. So, and also just for this one, just a DFS comment. Jeff Wilson's only 4,400 on DraftKings. So if you're looking to play some of the higher price receivers, he's a cheaper running back option you can roll with. I think Tyreek Hill's 8,500 this week. Diggs is 8,100. So you got two of the big dogs that if you want to play. Jeff Wilson may not be a bad filler. So anything else on this one, Ryan?
And then kind of had a down week last week, but do you think Joe Mixon keeps rolling following his 2 big weeks coming off the bye week versus Vegas and Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I like him in this one. Burrow's finger obviously is a topic. Justin Jefferson touchdown.
Shocker.
Yeah, his finger is obviously gonna be a hot topic, and they probably don't want him to have to throw it 50 times. So I do think that early on, at least, the strategy is going to be to lean on Joe Mixon to kind of take the pressure off the pass game. So I think he gets back on track in this one. I definitely can see him getting in the end zone for sure.
Yeah.
What about
agreed.
you? You agree? All right.
No, I totally agree. Last week had a down week, but that was also with only 19 attempts. The 2 weeks before that had almost 30 rushing attempts in both games. So with Joe Mixon's finger banged up, if T. Higgins is banged up, I could see them hitting the high 20s in rushing attempts, which will be a good day for Joe Mixon.
Yep. Yeah, it was just kind of a weird week last week because the Chargers got up so fast so early, and then they kind of had to abandon the run game sooner than they wanted to. So yeah, I think this one will be
Right.
more competitive, and yeah. All right, let's roll on to the next game. Clash of AFC North teams. We got the Ravens going to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Is the Ravens offense going to get back on track? Is the main question I have. I think you picked them to win and or pick them.
I did. I think for some reason, just because like I grew up with the Cleveland Browns sucking, that I just refuse to accept them as a good team, even though they keep performing okay. But yeah, the Ravens defense has to figure it out. I mean, they barely beat the Bears, which blows my mind. Had
Had
to
to
throw
throw that
that
in
in
there.
there.
Didn't
They did beat the Browns last time they played 2 weeks ago, but only by 6 points. And now they're playing them away. But they're a competitive team. They need to win pretty much, like, to stay in the playoffs. They can't really take any weeks off, so I think they're gonna fight hard and get the win.
Okay. I see it a little bit differently. I picked the Browns. I know we're not really talking game picks, but fantasy wise, the Browns have been really banged up lately, and Baker Mayfield is basically a bionic man at this point with all the injuries he's had this season. So I do
Yeah.
think the bye week will do them well. And the last time they played, the Ravens really shut down Nick Chubb, sold out on him, and start Kyler or Lamar, both. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd probably
That's hard because I'd lean towards Kyler. I think he looks really good his first week back. So I think I'd lean towards Kyler.
I'd probably play Kyler too. I think the Browns win this game. Um, and I think, the Ravens just lost Marlon Humphrey for the season, and their secondary was already struggling. So I think that Baker can pass a little bit in this one. So I don't mind Baker as a
And
streaming option.
it's weird in that we're always so used to the Ravens having so many fantasy relevant players, but I feel like now it's Lamar. I mean, maybe with Rashad Bateman in the flats, but like, or
You
Hollywood
got
Brown
Andrews.
as like boom. Andrews is probably the only one that I would say like Andrews and Lamar would be like no brainers, but I think that's it.
Yeah, since the Dolphins kind of put the scouting report out on the Ravens and showed that they can't really handle the blitz too well, it has hindered Hollywood Brown because he's not able to get down the field for Lamar's having to either take off or he's eating a sack. So he has definitely struggled as a result of that. And then, what do you think about Devontae Freeman, who plays for the Ravens, unlike
Yeah,
Mark Ingram?
yep. Solid start though, nonetheless.
All right. Are you interested in any of the Cleveland pass catchers? Jarvis Landry, Hooper, now that Njoku is on the COVID-19 list? What do you think?
I'm gonna say no. I don't think I like any of it.
Okay.
What about you?
Probably not in leagues. Landry's okay as a filler, probably. I don't mind Hooper in DFS this week. He's 3,400. So I do think that he gets a decent amount of volume in this one. That's the way the Browns moved the ball versus the Ravens a couple of weeks ago, was through the air. And I think with their banged up secondary, they'll probably try and do that again a little bit. So I don't mind Hooper in DFS. But other than that, not too invested in it. Anything else on this one?
I mean, I would start their field goal kickers. I just feel like it's not going to be a lot of touchdowns in this game. I feel like you're going to see field goals.
Yeah, AFC North games typically aren't that high scoring, so I definitely don't disagree there. All right. Let's keep rolling. Let's get into potentially the shittiest game of the week. It's the Jaguars at the Titans. Initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah. A snoozer for sure. Uh, I know there's been rumors that Julio's coming back, right? Do we know if he's going to be back this week?
It looks like he's going to be. I believe he logged a full practice today, so I definitely think this is the return of Julio game, which the Titans desperately need with AJ Brown on IR and the low draft picks and undrafted free
I mean,
agents are running out there to catch passes right now.
so I'd go Julio and Dante Foreman. I think you can start those guys with pretty high confidence. I know I've been hearing rumors that Derrick Henry might actually return before the season's over. Which probably has a lot of fantasy managers excited. It'll be interesting that should almost be a championship winner if he comes back right when you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's it's going to be
And,
close. It's going to be right on that championship Final Four type
yeah.
game if he does come back. So don't drop him if you got him. Joe says Julio's a wide receiver 3 this week.
All right. I mean, I can see it, but other than those two, that's all I'm thinking. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. No one else I'm really interested in this game. Also, fuck Marvin Jones. I think I said it Monday, but I'm going to say it again. He's pissed me off. I've had to play him in a 16-man league. And every week I'm just waiting for him to do something, and it's just not happening. So I'm benching him this week. So
He's gonna go
it's
off.
just
Is what you're saying.
it's a fact that he's scoring a touchdown Sunday. So yeah. Go ahead.
What about Dan Arnold? I mean, he was pretty consistent there towards the middle of the season, but now he's been non-existent almost the last 2 weeks.
Well, he will be non-existent as he is on IR now.
Oh, I completely missed that one.
Yeah. Yeah, he went on IR.
So that means on the Jaguars, I'm thinking James Robinson, and that's it.
Yes, I concur. James O'Shaughnessy kind of had a decent game. Not a decent game, but he had a lot of targets. So Lawrence loves to throw to the tight end. So if you're in a bad situation at tight end, James O'Shaughnessy is somebody that you can add. But I just don't want to do that. So, yeah, I agree with you. James Robinson or bust.
Yeah, and Trevor Lawrence came out saying we have to get James Robinson more involved. So I think you could see them come out this week and really make an effort to get him the ball. So he could be a solid week. I know I was looking at him pretty hard for DFS this week.
Yeah. Marvin Jones will go for 580 and a touchdown. Probably, Joe. Probably. All right. I think we covered both sides on this one. Anything else before we move on?
Nope. No, we got it.
Next game, just for you, Joe. The Saints travel to the Meadowlands to take on the beloved New York Jets. Joe's beloved New York Jets.
The New Jersey Jets.
The New Jersey Jets. This looks like it's going to be the return of Alvin Kamara, which is the talk of the game right now. So what are your thoughts on this one? We kind of talked about our outlook for Kamara earlier, but what do you think in general on this game?
Yeah, Kamara's obviously a solid start. There's a certain running back I mentioned earlier who's not on the Saints, so you don't have to worry about him taking anything. Al Kamara, solid start, and I know you're going to hate it, but I think Taysom Hill is a solid start if you're struggling at quarterback, especially in super flex leads. You got to look at him. Kamara, obviously, you still have to worry about Taysom taking those red zone touchdowns, but I'm still saying big game from Kamara. Any wide receivers you're looking at, like Traquan Smith? Do you see him doing anything?
No, I don't typically play guys that don't have a quarterback starting in the game. So, no, I'm not interested in any Saints pass catchers except Kamara.
It's going to be maybe we'll see another Bills Patriots situation where there's 3 passing attempts for the game, and the rest is just not 3 pass attempts. I think it's 3 completed passes. So
it's quite possible he's gonna have to throw a little bit. I think the Jets' game plan is going to be entirely stop Alvin Kamara. So I think they will probably the Jets will probably load the box and force Hill to beat them with his arm. But
Yeah, and I'm
we'll see.
saying screw all the Jets running backs. I'm wrong every week that I try to pick which one to start. So I don't want any part of pretty much that whole Jets team, I think.
Yeah, if Elijah Moore plays, he's definitely startable. But I think that's the only guy I'd be interested in. Crowder's gonna be in the slot. I'm not overly excited about him. If you're desperate or in a deeper league, he's viable. But yeah, I don't really want to play any Jets. With Michael Carter out, I don't want to be involved in the Tevin Coleman or Ty Johnson discussion. So I agree with you there. So, anything else on this one?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let's move on. Got a rivalry game here. Cowboys playing the Washington football team in Washington. Cowboys 4.5-point favorites. What do you think on this one? Who do you got in the game first off? It's a good game.
I took the Cowboys. Dat had a down game last week. I think he bounces back pretty good this week. Obviously you gotta like their receivers. I think Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup's been having a couple of strong showings as that's the one you benched, right?
No, I benched
Was
CeeDee
it?
Lamb.
Oh, you benched CeeDee Lamb. Okay. The other one on the team. Yeah. But what do you think about Zeke? I think right now with the knee issue and the splitting the chair, like I don't think he can be considered an RB1 at this point for sure.
Well, something I probably should have talked about in the news is Tony Pollard. He tore his plantar fascia in his foot. But he's expected to try and play. I believe he's questionable. But
Okay.
that hurts. That's a shitty injury. I've had a hurt plantar fascia before, and it's just nagging. And every time you put your foot down, especially when you run, it bothers you. So that's something to keep an eye on. Zeke is off the injury report, and he's just kind of banged up in general. But I mean, if
I
you got him,
mean,
you're starting him. But
if Pollard goes in banged up or is actually listed as out for the game, then I think Zeke is an obvious must start in that situation. What do you what about Dalton Schultz? Has been a pretty consistent, relatively tight end throughout the season. You still feeling good about him?
yeah, I have no problem starting him. The way to beat the football team this year is in the air for sure. So I like Cooper, I like Lamb, I like Schultz, and Gallup is a potential streamer. He's the third or fourth target there. So, but he's been
Yeah.
hot lately. So I definitely like the Cowboys passing game in this one. So yes, definitely viable Schultz.
All right. And then over on the Washington side, it seems like Antonio Gibson is finally getting healthy at the right time. McKissick is coming back. I believe he practiced for the first time today in some capacity. So it'll be interesting to see how much that cuts into Antonio Gibson's work. Honestly, I was hoping he stayed out a little longer because I've been loving Antonio Gibson being the main guy there, but maybe now they've realized they can just use him and he does great. So I think you definitely start Antonio Gibson and Terry McLaurin, and then that's probably it.
Yeah, Gibson all of a sudden is fifth in the NFL in rushing yards, and he's kind of been part of the football team's resurgence. As they've been giving him the workload, and he's been carrying the team a little bit. Heineke's also been playing well, but he's a big part of what they're doing. So yeah, Gibson for sure, McLaurin for sure. The Cowboys have Trayvon Diggs, who is leads the league in interceptions, but also has given up a lot of passing yards, along with his counterpart Brown on the other side. So the Cowboys secondary can definitely be had. So I like McLaurin in this one too, especially in DFS. Maybe stacking this game with Dak and a receiver or two, and then coming back with McLaurin. But Yeah, I agree. Those two are the two guys for Washington, and then potentially Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah,
Logan Thomas went on IR, and it's looking like Seals-Jones is going to come back. And when he stepped in for Logan Thomas earlier in the year before he got hurt, he was doing a good job. It was a red zone target for Heineke. So he's definitely viable in this game that I think is going to be higher scoring. So if you're looking for a streaming
yeah,
option at tight end.
And I think what will hurt Gibson is if McKissick comes in and starts getting the passing work again. The last 2 weeks, you had Gibson get 7 receptions for 35 yards and then another 5 for 23 yards, which really kind of pushed him up into that upper tier of running backs. So hopefully they continue to use him like that. Prior to their bye week, he never went over 20 attempts. And then after the bye week, you saw 24, 29, 23. And you really saw him kind of take off. So hopefully they stick with that game plan.
Yep. I agree. Anything else in this one?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Let's keep it rolling. NFC South clash. We have the Atlanta Falcons going to Carolina to play the Panthers. Both 5-7 teams. Panthers are favored by 2.5. What version of Cam are we going to get in this one?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? That's. I think he's going to do okay. I think he is. I don't think the Falcons defense is that good. I don't think you'll see as bad of a game as we saw previously. Yeah, I feel okay about Cam. I don't love starting him if it was up to me. But the rushing work will be there, so he definitely has that upside.
Yeah, this game kind of sucks, but it's like one of the things I'm most interested in this week. I don't know what happened with the Panthers and Joe Brady. It's just kind of a weird situation. So I don't know. I don't know what the Panthers are going to try and do. I would guess they're going to try and run a lot with Chuba Hubbard and Cam Newton.
Yes.
But because that's how you beat the Falcons, really. You saw what Leonard Fournette did to him the other week. Or was it last week? Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. Fournette had success. Actually, he didn't have that great a game. They picked him apart through the air. But typically, you can run on the Falcons. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers had almost 200 rushing yards. But that's kind of
and I think the one thing we could both confidently say is probably no Panthers wide receivers are viable.
If you have DJ Moore, you probably got to start him. I don't know.
You don't like it, though.
No, you don't like it. You don't like it at all. It's like having to read an apology.
Right.
Speaking of that, we need an apology bet for this week. So be on the lookout for shit you disagree with me on.
All right, deal. Well, maybe we can disagree on this one. Pitts, a bust this week, or do you think he has an alright game?
I have no idea. It's like we talked about before. Calvin Ridley sitting out has really hindered Pitts.
Killed the team.
Yeah, the only team that Pitts could go off against, of course, was Joe's Jets in London. And other than that, it's pretty much been pedestrian in every single game. So it's very disappointing. He has over 700 yards and is probably going to finish the year with 1,000+ yards, but he's just not getting in the end zone. He's kind of like taken over for Julio as the dominant receiver threat that just can't score for the Falcons. So it's just weird.
Yeah, still only one touchdown going into week 14 with 709 yards as a tight end. Like you said, very pedestrian. His last big game was against Miami back in week 7. Since then, has had less than 5 receptions every game. And I'm noticing like his catch percentage isn't that high. You had him go 2 receptions off 6 targets, 3 off of 7, 2 off of 6. And I know that Matt Ryan's thrown I think 4 of his receptions can be attributed to kind of missed targets or things that may have been Pitt's fault. So I almost wondered if there's been a breakdown in the trust as well between Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts at this point.
Yeah, the Falcons really need to move on from Matt Ryan. So that's there's a lot that they need to do on the offensive side of the ball. So, and the defensive side of the ball, they just really need to rebuild.
Well, unfortunately, it sounds like we agree that Kyle Pitts is going to be a bust again this week. I wonder, do we know where he ranks just in tight ends? Is he a top 10?
We can find that out. I would assume he's top 10 with the yardage that he has. But
Yeah.
let's take a look. So while we do that, is there any other? What do you think about Russell Gage? He had the big week last week. I think he had 11 receptions. Is he trustworthy this week?
Yeah. So I think he's solid. I think he's probably the one part of this team that has benefited from Ridley being out. So I think you could start him with pretty solid confidence. I'm seeing Pitts in PPR leads as number 9 right now.
And I have him at he's the number 8 tight end, but that might be because Ron has that stupid bonus on for receiving yards, which he had 100 yards versus the Jets. So yeah, he's 8 or 9. So definitely not.
I love Ron.
Go ahead.
I love Ron's just random stuff he throws in there. I also think this is my only lead where it's It's a point for every 0.2 or 0.25 or something. Yeah.
I think that's. I can't remember if it's 0.25 or 0.2.
It's not the standard one. Whatever the default is, it's the opposite.
Well, Ron's gonna round.
0.05. Yeah, he's gonna do his thing. So I've been saying it for a while now. Can you say Pitts was probably a bust based on where he was drafted?
Yeah, for sure. He was the I think he's the 3rd or 4th tight end taken. 4th. There were leagues though where he was being taken before Mark Andrews. It was Kelsey, Kittle, and then Pitts or Andrews pretty much. So yeah, he's been a bust this year. He just is not finding the end zone like he should. So
yeah,
they need to find out how to get him the ball.
So he's one of those guys where you probably have to start him if you have him where you took him. But again, you don't like it. You're not going to be happy about it. And I think I would consider looking at your waiver wire and seeing what's there, possibly.
I'm not there yet, but because there's gonna be
all right.
No, he's gonna score again before the season's over, but it's just frustrating because he has not paid off where you drafted him. So, all right. And what do you think of Cordell Patterson in this? The Panthers have been pretty decent against a run. Do you think he gets loose and stays hot, or are the Panthers going to shut him down this week?
I think every time I think the team's figuring it out, when he only puts up 4 points, and I'm like, okay, finally team's caught on. The next week he puts up 25. So it's hard to know, but it's definitely, I feel like it's common knowledge now. If you want to beat the Falcons, you got to shut down Cordell Patterson, and you'll probably win the game.
Yep.
So I think he's a solid play just because of the amount of work he'll get. But I think Carolina will hold him. I see him doing. I don't think you're gonna see the big boom game that we've seen from him before.
Okay. All right, and we kind of touched on the other side of the ball with Cam. Personally, I think he has an okay day. Probably throws for 170 yards with 1 touchdown. He probably runs another one in, so I think he'll be okay. But not super excited about him. Personally, hoping for selfish reasons that Chuba Hubbard has a good game. So,
Yep.
All right. Joe says that Pitt's scoring should be apology bet.
I don't know if I don't feel confident enough either way to risk. And plus, I know since I wrote your apology letter, like I've set the bar so high that if I lose one, like it is going to be brutal. Like,
I don't know.
I think that's what I'm most scared of is because I went so hard on that apology letter that now
Well,
it's
that's
just
what you're
gonna come
supposed to
back
do.
at me twice as hard.
That's why Ron's ducking out. He doesn't want to get caught in a bet. He's just hiding.
Exactly, being a little wimp about it.
All right. Well, we'll circle back to that, and maybe we'll figure something out.
We'll see.
Yeah. So let's see. What's the next game I have on my list here? I have the another kind of game. The Seattle Seahawks and the Houston Texans, 4-8 team versus a 2-10 team. Seattle 8.5-point favorites. Is this a game that Russ and Metcalf and Lockett go crazy and get back on track?
I think so. I mean, it's got to happen at some point, right? And why not against the god awful Houston Texans? This is a perfect game for them to pretty much show that they're still a decent football team. Are they basically out of playoff contention at this point? I mean,
Seattle?
the Lions are still statistically in it somehow, so I'm sure Seattle is somehow, but
They
I'm guessing
actually are only 2 games out. The last wild card team is 6-6. So if they get hot, they could sneak in.
no kidding. Well then, I mean, I like all the Seattle Seahawks players going up against the Texans for sure. What about you?
Yep. I agree. I think one of the Seattle receivers is going to have a monster game. I just don't know which one yet. Metcalf hasn't scored a touchdown in a few weeks, maybe it's even like 4 weeks. So he's definitely due. So I can see him with a multi-score game where he catches a deep one. So I like both Metcalf and Lockett in this one for sure. And Wilson, just since coming back from the finger injury, he's just looked better and better each week. So I think he is due for that boom game. So I definitely like Seattle side. And as far as the Texans, is there anyone you're interested in starting?
Brandon Cooks, I guess, and then that's it.
Yeah. Even Cooks has been cool lately. Not the good kind of cool.
Yeah. No, he's been pretty cold, but if there is a player that's going to have some level of offensive development on that team, I feel like it'll be him. But yeah, I mean, coming off the bye week, only put up 4 points against Tennessee, put up 14 against the Jets, but so doesn't everybody. We got a Dalvin Cook TD. So as we predicted prior to the show starting, Dalvin Cook was going to come back with his harness and just be fine, just like he did back against the Steelers in the wild card.
Yep.
And Joe is super excited because he has Cook, so he's going to fangirl over this for a little while.
Yes, man. Geez, I'm just looking at stats. And we're 5 minutes into the second quarter. Jefferson has 5 catches for 67 yards and a touchdown. Cook has 7 carries for 117 yards and a touchdown. So this is a murder.
Yeah. Ow. I don't know if I would have seen it going that way.
Steelers just don't have it together. But all right,
they got to move on from Big Ben. I think it's common knowledge at this point.
Yeah, it's last year. So, all right, I think we covered that one. The Texans suck. Seahawks pass catcher should get on track. I'm not really interested in any Seattle running back. I don't know about you, but
nope.
All right, let's get on the next one. The Lions, the red hot Detroit Lions, coming off their first win of the season.
Yes.
Haven't
lost
Denver.
a game since like October.
Yeah, better record in November than the Rams.
Yeah, That's oh, I lied. They did lose to the Browns the week before. I mean, they also lost to the Bears. All right, I lied. They lost, but still.
All right. Lions at Broncos. Broncos 10-point favorites at home. Couple bits of injury news. I don't think DeAndre Swift's going to play. I think it's kind of a long shot, and they have no reason to rush him back with their current record. And then on the other side, Melvin Ingram is limited in practice with his hip injury. It's looking like he's probably going to be back and playing this one, which sucks for Javonte Williams, who just had his breakout game. What are your thoughts on this one, big picture-wise?
I just hate that. And I also am realizing I called Javonte Jamal earlier when I was talking about the Broncos. But, Joe, take the Lions. Listen, I know how lucky I was that JJ threw in that little extra bonus there because of his Bears fandom. So I know when I'm ahead and to not put any more faith in the Lions. This whole Broncos thing is really annoying as far as Javonte Williams goes. Like, just let it go. Let him be the guy. Jerry Jeudy, I think, is decent. But I know I haven't looked at his numbers in a bit, but Cortland Sutton has definitely gone down since the return of Jerry Jeudy.
A lot.
Has back-to-back game. He is on a, let's see, 1, 2, 3. He's on a 5-game streak of only having 2 receptions or less. That's not great. And before that, he was having a great year. So I think I probably benched Cortland Sutton at this point, and I think I only like Jeudy, and then I would still Javonte Williams is a little bit of a gamble just because of Melvin Gordon.
I think if you have him, you're probably playing him, especially versus the Lions. I love Jerry Jeudy this week. I think this could be his career game. He's so good. He's always open, and the Lions DBs are not good. If they just had a above average quarterback, he would have so many yards. He'd be like Jefferson-esque, but I like Jeudy a lot in this one. And I don't mind Javonte Williams. You can play Melvin Gordon. I definitely can see the Broncos getting up big at home and then just running the second half with Gordon, preserving Williams. So,
are you starting KJ Hamler by any chance?
Still, he's out for the year, man. I wish I could start him.
Hilarious.
Lions side, we talked about we talked about Swift being out, so Jamal Williams is probably in line for another start. Joe's comment.
Jerry Jeudy bet 80. Joe, why don't you make these bets?
Joe spelling Jeudy wrong, of course.
In typical Joe
Ron
fashion.
spells it that way too. I'll take that bet if someone wants to make it. We'll let Joe process.
Joe, you're on the spotlight. Do you want that? Joe, JJ, are you taking the over? Is that what you're saying?
I'm taking over 80 yards.
All right, Joe. JJ says he'll take over. Are you willing to take the under? Ball is in your court. Don't be scared.
All right, while we wait for Joe to process that request, let's get to the Lions side. Hawkinson, you're starting if you have him. Do you trust Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I feel like I trust Hawkinson on that team, and that's probably it. St. Brown, he's coming off a monster game versus Minnesota, 25 points, but before that was very pedestrian. I'm staying away from it unless, like I've mentioned before, like if you need a Hail Mary, like need a guy that could possibly have a huge boom game, then I'll do it. But Joe said I'll do 80 and a TD. I'll take the under. So what do you think? Are you gonna go? But what if he goes for so that means if he goes for 100 yards but not a touchdown, JJ loses? All right.
Apparently. Loopholes, taking the easy way out.
What's that?
Screw it. I'll take it.
All right,
I'm not
JJ's
afraid.
on. There we go. We got a
We
bet.
got it.
Jerry Judy. JJ.
It's on.
And just know, Joe, if you win this, the bar is set pretty high on what kind of apology you can make JJ do. So, got some big shoes to fill, if I say so myself.
And if I lose and the apology has any spelling mistakes, tear it right up and don't read it.
For every time that then and then is switched incorrectly, you add 10 yards to Jerry Judy's statistic. And then if Joe ends up losing, he has to do it.
I like it. All right. Let's move on from that one. Rounds Giants are going to LA to face the Chargers. Obviously, the interesting situation in this game is the Chargers COVID situation. I probably should have talked about this in the news. We get the news, it just kind of flows through the whole podcast. But Mike Williams is on the COVID list, but he's testing negative. So if he tests negative the rest of the week, he can return to the team Saturday. That's an unvaccinated rule. I believe if he was vaccinated and had a negative test, he'd already be able to be back. But I believe he's unvaccinated, so he has to test negative until Saturday, and he can come back. So it seems like the Chargers won't have Keenan Allen, but they will have Mike Williams. Is he going to have a monster game?
I mean, if he plays and Keenan Allen's not there, he's pretty much going to be the guy, right? So I'm saying, yeah, if he plays, I think we could see a big game from him. And then other than that, it's basically Austin Eckler.
Yes, who's also limited with an ankle injury, but I think he's fine. Brandon Staley called it bumps and bruises. He's definitely going to play. So I'm not worried about Eckler, but yeah, he could definitely have an uptick in targets. Keenan Allen obviously gets a high volume of targets and receptions typically, so someone's going to pick those up. What do you think about Guyton, the Chargers wide receiver that was talked about on the waivers episode?
I don't know. Full disclosure, I don't even know who that is. So.
He's kind of their speedy guy. He's kind of been the 3 receiver this year. He's a deep threat. I don't mind him this week. He's actually the guy that I'm starting over Marvin Jones in my 16-man league. So, Joe, obviously you're not
18
listening,
points
man.
against Cincinnati last week.
I just talked about how Mike Williams is on the COVID list, but he doesn't have it, and he's testing negative and can come back Saturday. So maybe
why did Joe just agree to be on the show if he was just going to be on and commenting the whole time?
He said he wants to relax. He can't relax and just talk football with us on here.
Yeah, I don't.
He says Guyton will play well. All right. So, that's kind of the Chargers side. Giants side, it looks like the great Mike Glennon will be starting for them. Thought we might get Jake Fromm, but it looks like Glennon is can clear concussion protocol and start for the Giants. So, what are your thoughts on the Giants pass catchers and the banged up, as usual, Saquon Barkley?
I don't think any of it's good. I don't want any of it.
I agree. People were kind of excited about Barkley this week to start the week because you can get the Chargers with a run, but then he lands on the injury report with the ankle injury. So it's like, what the hell, man? I just wish this guy could stay healthy and get 20 carries a game and be the superstar he's supposed to be, but it's just not working out.
Not happening.
Don't be mad. I'm keeping your comments lively. Yeah, you definitely are. You're the Sue of the episode, so we appreciate that. So if you have Barkley, you're starting him. Just obviously monitor if he's active or not. It sucks he's in the afternoon game, but just keep an eye on that. I don't think Kadarius Toney's going to play. He's been banged up all week. and he sat out again today. He got an oblique injury in practice, so it's negative. I kind of wanted to see Glennon play with Tony again because the one game that they started together, Tony had that monster game and has been quiet since.
Yep.
So I wanted to see all the dump offs to him and play him in DFS, but not looking like that's going to happen. Any
Nope.
Giants pass catchers you're interested in?
I'm gonna say no. I'm avoiding them all.
Yeah, Galladay's been a huge bust. I don't want Mike Glennon throwing my guys the ball, so I agree with you. Let's just move on from that one. Bills at the Buccaneers. Yeah, Romo on the call. Tampa's 3.5-point favorites. Bills coming off that heartbreaking loss to your Patriots, who ran the ball down their throat. What's going to happen in this one, Ryan?
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see if Tampa Bay watches that game and just says, you know what, we'll just give it to Fournette a lot and let him pound it. But it's still Tom Brady, still the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to throw the ball. Antonio Brown still suspended, as everybody knows, so I think it's the usual guys. You're still looking at Gronk, Evans, Godwin. But I definitely think we did see Fournette get some work in this one.
Oh, got a little shot taken. Start David
I'm not even
Tyree,
gonna
right?
acknowledge it. I'm not even going
Not going to acknowledge
You know what,
the
Joe?
helmet catch?
At least my team made it to the Super Bowl to lose, okay?
All right, so yeah, I don't mind the Buccaneers' outlook. It wouldn't surprise me if the Bills came to play in this one. I think they're a little emotional about losing the Patriots the way they did, and all the stuff in the media afterwards. Their safeties were very emotional about the game, so
they're gonna be playing aggressive. They're gonna be coming in with a point to prove because they are not happy.
Yeah, and they definitely need this game more than the Bucks. I think the Bucks can clinch the division if they win this one and the Falcons lose. Or is it this? I can't remember what it is, but they're close to clinching the division. So the Buccaneers need it, but the Bills need it way more. So I think this is probably a really good game. So I like, obviously, you're starting your usual guys: Evans, Godwin, Fournette, Brady, Gronk. On the other side, Bills, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Dawson Knox, and Beasley and Sanders are potential streamers. So did I miss anything?
Yeah, totally agree. I know some people were frustrated with the Knots, had a few passes that were dropped or got broken up in this game, but it's an anomaly. Put up a big goose egg. Well, I don't know if he did a goose egg, but definitely not a great game. But I think you see him bounce back pretty good here. Definitely not starting either of the Bills running backs.
They cannot run
That's
the
a lost
ball.
cause. I saw them dropped a ton in fantasy this week. I don't know why people held on to him this long, but dropped them. So yeah, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. I could see Sanders or Beasley being streaming options, and it's down in Tampa. The weather should be much better. I would say borderline must win for Buffalo. They lose this one, the Patriots go up 2 games on them, and they still have another game against the Patriots. Do have a couple easy ones towards the end there, but they're definitely entering into must-win territory.
And Dolphins have won 5 straight games and are right there. So, yeah, they really need this one.
Yeah.
All right, I think that covers that one. Let's get to the unfortunate Sunday night football game. Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. The return of Justin Fields. Ryan, how upset am I going to be Sunday night?
You're going to be very upset, especially if Aaron Rodgers continues with the I own you celebration. that has still been coming up this week. I don't love your guys' chances. I will say, as far as the Bears go, I like Mooney. I think I saw David Montgomery was limited in practice today. I'm not positive what he's dealing with. You'll probably know more on that. But I know Allen Robinson's still hurt. So I do like Mooney in this game, though.
So as far as Montgomery, he has a shoulder, groin, and glute injury, and I don't know if you saw
Jeez.
any of the games Sunday, but he completely carried the entire offense through the air and on the ground. So I think he's just beat up. He didn't practice yesterday, but he's limited today. He's a tough guy. He's not going to miss Packers week, so I'm not too worried about Montgomery missing. And then as far as Allen Robinson, he actually said in his press conference today he plans to play on Sunday. So I think you're going to get Fields and Robinson both back this week. So it's still
I think it actually helps
offense.
Mooney, Robinson being in the game.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster situation where he takes the one, especially with it sounds like Jair Alexander may come back for Green Bay too. I know he's practicing again. He's one of the better cornerbacks in the league. So, yep, I agree. That's really it. You can start Cole Kmet, who dropped way too many passes last week. If you're desperate, but I don't want to start him personally. Him and Fields do have a rapport, but we'll see. And then obviously Packers side, starting Aaron Rodgers, who unfortunately does own the Bears. Aaron Jones is going to play, I believe. AJ Dillon.
I do.
Devontae Adams.
We didn't mention it in the news, but I think Randall Cobb's injured, right?
Yeah, he's out indefinitely with a a core muscle injury.
Oh, so he's like injured.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play the rest of the year. So
Devontae Adams. I mean, obviously he's been a clear-cut starter every week, but I would say even more so this week then.
Yep, and MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is definitely viable too. He typically catches a deep pass versus the Bears, and whoever the Bears' number 2 corner is, they run out. Artie Burns or Kendall Vildor, they're both completely burnable. So would not be surprised if they give up a deep touchdown this week. So Jalen Johnson will probably shadow. Oh, Dalvin Cook, another touchdown.
Now, do you think both Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are startable? Like, if you have either one of them, are you starting them?
Yeah, probably. If Jones is active, it depend who else I had with instead of AJ Dillon, but both are definitely viable. The Bears have not been great against the run this year, so
and
yeah,
Dalvin Cook is continuing to do Dalvin Cook things. Second touchdown. So my heart hurts for you if you didn't hurry up and start him when the news was coming out today. But I'm assuming if you were a Dalvin Cook fantasy owner, you were probably on top of that. But
unless he plays on Brad Dad's team.
Yeah, then he's definitely benched.
Sorry, inside joke. All right, let's last game. We got the Monday night game. This is actually one of the best Monday night games of the season for sure. We got the Rams playing the Cardinals, and both teams should have all their guys. So Kyler is back. He torched the Bears last week through the air and on the ground, so he looked to be back in form. So what do you think's going to happen? Is this just a shootout, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think shootout. The Cardinals do have a decent defense, though. It's worth noting. You got Cooper Kupp with that toe injury, but I think that ends up being fine. And at this, I would even say Odell is startable. At this, I mean, it's clearly that Stafford's looking for him and getting the ball to him. Has had some solid weeks since he's joined the Rams, and he seems to be getting better each week the more he gets into that offense.
Yeah, I think he scored a couple weeks in a row, so he's wow. To see, this should be the bet right here because there's no way that the Cardinals win by 14. I picked the Rams. I'd rather just do the bet like a straight up.
All right.
Joe, are you up to swap this one? I'll pick the Rams. You pick the Cardinals. That's a bet. I think the Rams take this one. They need it more. But
What about
anyways,
Van Jefferson? Are you starting him as a flex?
yeah, I got no problem starting him. He's taken that Robert Woods role kind of, and he's kind of has his own role, but him and Odell kind of split the Woods role and are both viable. So I have no problem playing Jefferson in the flex. I also like having a Monday night guy as my last guy to play. So
yeah, I don't know, it just feels better. Henderson, is he bad from an injury this week?
Joe
Chicken.
says he likes the Judy handicap. I think Henderson should be ready to go. Last week he was active and then just didn't play, which, as Joe and I talked about in the reaction, is bullshit. But I think he's going to play in this one. So if you have him, you're probably starting him. Just keep an eye on the injury report tomorrow specifically too. So, and they will have a Saturday injury report too because it's a Monday night game. So you get that luxury.
All the Rams players you're basically starting.
Yep. Stafford, Cup, Jefferson, Beckham, all viable, and then Henderson too. So, also on the Cardinals side of things, I probably should have brought this up in the news too. Looks like Chase Edmonds is going to be activated from IR and play in this one. So, James Conner's been really good with him out. Joe and I touched on a little bit, but would you trust Chase Edmonds and start him in this one?
Yeah, I hate the whole when you get the two running backs like that, like James Conner and Chase Edmonds. I think it basically makes them both not viable. Like if you had one, it'd be a clear-cut starter, but then with the two, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm having to start him in a league that I have Jonathan Taylor on a bye week, so I'm rolling the dice on that. But yeah, it's I mean, they both negatively impact each other, just like Kenny and Drake did with Chase Edmonds. So you just got to kind of ride it out and play the hot hand. So,
yeah,
I think
and then
much. What you got?
And then obviously Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's it. Ertz is injured, right?
Is he banged up?
I think he's banged up.
I think it was questionable.
I don't. Yeah. If he's playing, he's a solid start. But I think that pretty much covers the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, Ertz was limited today, so he's questionable for the game. Something to keep an eye on.
Again, it's just the luxury of having a Monday night game. These guys get an extra day. Also gives you another day to kind of wait and see what happens. But make sure you have someone else you can plug in there. I mean, tight end position is definitely tough because every other tight end's going to play before that. But
yeah, keep an eye on it Friday, Saturday. All right.
I think that's it. Are you looking at AJ Green, Christian Kirk, any of those guys?
Not particularly. It's just so sporadic and unpredictable. It could be Moore, it could be Kirk, could be Green. So unless you're desperate,
Agreed.
I wouldn't play one of the other guys. But yeah,
agreed.
So I think we just got through all the games. We went long again. We typically do. We this crew right here is the best crew, and we give you all the breakdowns, all the discussion. So
kind of the top tier. I mean, I would argue pretty strongly we're 1 and 2 for sure. Maybe tied for 1. Like it'd go 1-1 and then 3-4.
I agree.
Is what
I agree.
Well, actually, no. There's only 3 Potters. We just have a pretty frequent guest star who, like, he comes on enough to where he's like a pretty high end guest, but not enough to actually be a host.
Yeah, I'd like to call Ron the Mitch Trubisky of the podcast. You know, he had the 2018 season where he's great in the Pro Bowl. Ron had last year, where he was the host. That show was named after him, and then he takes all this criticism and isn't around anymore. So I'm gonna start calling Ron Mitch. I think just
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so guys, we appreciate it. If you're still with us, I think it's just Joe in here right now. But if you're listening to this again, like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And we are on Spotify, Simplecast, Iheartradio. Obviously, YouTube is our biggest platform. We're on Apple Podcasts as well. And I'm sure I missed one, Joe, so don't be too mad at me. But in our outro video, we have where you can find us as well. My Twitter handle for this podcast is under my face right now. It's garbage_time_FF. And also, if you look over at Ryan that way, you can see his Insta, Garbage Time MMA. Are you and Casey doing an episode for the big card Saturday?
I'm hoping to. We have a big UFC card, UFC 269 coming up. We got Poirier versus Oliveira. Nunez is fighting. We got Sugar Sean O'Malley's coming in. We got Dominic Cruz fighting on the undercard, which people are going to be able to see for free.
Cody Garbrandt making his 125 debut.
Cody Garbrandt. Yep. So it is going to be a killer card. Definitely, you're going to want to watch it. A great way to end the year. And hopefully we can get that out. I gotta talk to Casey and see. He's kind of like the Ron of the MMA podcast. So.
Damn it, Casey. All right. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. I'm going to go catch the second half of this game. Thank you for joining us. We will be back Sunday night or Monday with the recap of Week 14. Good luck in your playoffs, and we will see you next time. Well, if you're in the playoffs, but game before the playoffs, most likely. But good luck. Bye, guys.